Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much to everyone who's joining us tonight, and thank you so much to our amazing panelists. For those of you who I've not had a chance to meet yet, my name is Sarah Griesdorf, and I'm the CEO and founder of Holdette. And this is the final event of our launch week, which is a celebration of the launch of our first line of women's suits. We're calling our first suit the Leslie suit, and she has 8 functional pockets, so that's enough to hold your phone and your wallet and a couple of snacks, thank goodness. While this is the final event of our launch week, you can see our giveaways and catch up on all of our events by going to holdette.com/launch week, as well as checking out the suit at holdette.com. And to support our growing small business, I encourage you to follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, and we have a budding TikTok presence if you're on TikTok. Tonight, we are going to be talking about companies and brands that are designed for women by women. And I'm so excited by the amazing panelists that we have tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a chance to introduce themselves. And Kate, why don't you start us off?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Kate Anderson. I am co-founder and VP of Revenue Ops at iFund Women. iFund Women is a startup funding marketplace for female entrepreneurs like Sarah, and who did a crowdfunding campaign on iFund Women. And I am based in Boston. I have 3 kids here, and that's my life. That's it.
Amazing. Jane?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I am the co-founder, co-CEO of Harper Wild. We take the BS out of bra shopping. And we're based in LA, although working from home right now. And that's about it.
Awesome. Stephanie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Kaplan-Lewis, co-founder and CEO of Her Campus, and we are the leading media company for college women and Gen Z. I founded the company 11 years ago now as a college undergrad myself, and have been building the business ever since. And I also live right outside of Boston and have a 2-year-old daughter who you may or may not hear in the background and was here until about 1 minute ago.
Amazing. A bonus 6th panelist. And Sadie?
Hi, everyone. My name's Sadie Kurzban. I'm the founder of 305 Fitness. I started it in college, just like Stephanie. Been going at it now for 12 years. We make working out fun, shame-free, judgment-free. It's really just a good time. We have live DJs in every class, and we have different business models, studios at home, and also we certify instructors to go out and become their own entrepreneurs with this method as well.
Awesome. And yeah, I somewhat shamelessly just asked the founders of all my favorite companies to come to this panel. So this is really exciting for me. I hope it's just as exciting for you in the audience. So we're going to go ahead and kick off with questions. And as has been the case all week, feel free to drop any questions in the chat and we'll get to as many of them as we can. So let's start with a little bit of background. What inspired you to start your company, and how has that evolved and changed over time? And Sadie, why don't you start us off?
Yay! So I got started by teaching Zumba when I was 16, actually. Was teaching it for a few years, brought it to my college campus, and found something really special about Zumba, actually, which was that it took a lot of people that weren't athletes or didn't consider themselves serious working out people to get off the couch and move. So I was really inspired by that, but I wanted to create my own format. I hired a DJ. The DJ really challenged me to play as fast as he wanted to, and a whole bunch of songs I had never heard before. And so it made it this really improvisational class that was really free and liberating, both for the teacher and for the student. So I started to develop that into a format, and I went from having 10 kids in my class on college campus, I was just teaching at the rec center, to 100. And then to me saying, hey, let me just collect cash at the door instead of working for the athletic director. And then I was making $40,000 in a semester. And then I was entering a business pitch competition and just going for it. So it really just totally came out of passion for this class, really. It's just a great class. But mostly I was inspired by this idea that young women, and just generally anyone who has ever experienced any kind of marginalization, we're really tired of being told that we're not good enough, that we have to lose the weight, that we have to buy the bullshit beauty standards. So I thought that there was really just room in the fitness space in general for a voice like that.
Absolutely incredible. And if you've ever attended a 305 class, that energy is absolutely palpable. Stephanie, can you tell us a little bit more about Her Campus?
Yes. So as I mentioned, I started it when I was in college. And the way that came about is that I was running Harvard's Lifestyle and Fashion magazine on campus, which was a student publication at the time. It was an annual print magazine. My now co-founders and I had all gotten involved with it as an extracurricular. We became the board members of it, decided we were going to transition this print publication to something all online to cut down on printing costs, be able to publish content more frequently. And once we moved this Harvard student publication online, it started really getting a lot of interest from college women at schools all across the country. And there were a lot of college women elsewhere who were reading it and saying, I really love this content, but it's kind of specific to Harvard. I wish we had something like this at my school. And this whole other group of college women that were reading it and saying, I wish we had something like this at my school that I could write for. The only outlet I have on campus is the school newspaper, but I really want to do more lifestyle or fashion or magazine journalism. So we kind of looked at those two problems. One, we felt like student journalists who were aspiring kind of lifestyle or fashion or magazine journalists didn't have platforms and outlets available to them. And we felt like for college women in general, there wasn't a media outlet, be it a print magazine, a website, anything that really spoke to them. So we said, what if we could take what we were doing at Harvard, do that on a national scale, make it so that college women everywhere could start their own kind of, at the time we called it an online magazine of sorts, solve that need for student journalists and really kind of solve this need for this demographic overall that really was at this unique point in their lives and wanted content that spoke to them. So we entered the business plan competition as students, we won, and we launched Her Campus September of our senior year at Harvard.
Absolutely amazing. We have so many members of Her Campus that are also part of the Holdette Back Pocket community. So we love the synergy. Jane, can you tell us more about Harper Wild?
Yeah. So I was not brave enough to start so early. I waited into business school and had worked in consulting in the financial services space prior to business school. And so the path to selling bras was not really clear to me at the time. So the place came from just a really organic place as a woman who was at business school wearing a designer suit and fancy shoes and purses, and underneath it all was a torn, ripped 10-year-old bra from Target with the underwire poking through. And at the same moment was looking at a slide about the changes in retail more generally that were underway and all these millennial direct-to-consumer brands that were coming up to change the way we shop for fill in the blank, not sexy commodity product, razor blades, mattresses, eyeglasses, luggage, socks. It was like, for every one of these, there was this cool millennial brand, Casper, Dollar Shave Club, Warby Parker, and yet there wasn't one for bras. So it came from a very organic place of, I have a psychology degree, and it was like, this just feels like a weird consumer behavior that we're not replacing our bras, but we can buy razor blades easily online. And just started looking into the space and trying to understand. Came at it, I think, from like maybe a counterintuitive, from an entrepreneurial perspective. It wasn't okay, I want to start a company, let me figure out what it is and validate the idea. It was, gosh, this seems like there's this huge opportunity, but it must be a bad idea. Let me try to disprove it in some way. And my co-founder and I started looking into the market, how big it was, noticed that Victoria's Secret was the dominant player, that was 2015. So it felt really off at the time, but it was pre-women's marches, Me Too, Time's Up. And it was just like, that's, you walk into a Victoria's Secret and that's not my friend that's not who me and my colleagues and my family, we don't relate to that. That's not the modern woman. And maybe that was what feminism looked like and was cool and edgy in the 70s when we were celebrating women's sexuality for the first time, but it just feels so out of touch today. And why are they still the market leader by billions and billions of dollars? So we came at it as, can we offer a solution for women that they actually want to buy more frequently than they are today and replace their bras, and a brand that can actually stand for the modern woman and be something that we're actually proud to be buying from.
What an incredible story. And if you do not have the Bliss bra from Harper Wild yet, literally the only thing I've worn for the last 8 months or however long quarantine's been. Big endorsement from the Holdette team. And great, Kate, can you tell us about iFund Women?
Yeah, I'll chime in, but I will say, Jane, I love that story so much. Like growing up, I was never allowed to even look at Victoria's Secret catalogs or go in the stores, because it was either like sad department store like jockey bras or Victoria's Secret, which was sex. And it's nice to have a place where I'm like, oh, I see myself in Harper Wild bras. It looks like me and the stuff that I want to wear. So I love that. And now I forgot how we got started. Yeah. I have two other co-founders, Karen and Sarah, and Karen, our CEO, had started a company previously called Be Proud. It was a video production company for women, and we had the hardest time getting funding for it. And in doing that, we ran a crowdfunding campaign, and we realized through that women are starting so many businesses, 1,800 net new businesses every day as of 2019, yet they lack the access to capital and the coaching that they need to accelerate growth of their businesses. So they start a business and they don't know how to capitalize it. Women get smaller loan amounts for higher interest rates. They don't have the connections, unfortunately, that men have. So we thought, well, what are women really good at? Interpersonal connections, their own relationships. They're really good storytellers. So we wanted to create a platform that would allow women to raise the initial seed capital that they needed to get their business off the ground, but also help them get coaching and mentorship. Because I think we all know, like, you don't know what you're doing and when you're starting a business, and you need mentor and guidance. And like Stephanie has been so great in this for me, and like emailing to say like, help, we have this problem. Do you have a template that you can help me send this email to my employees about? But there's so many things. I think that there's so many analogies between having a startup and being a new parent. You don't know what you're doing at all for either one of them, and you don't know what's around the next bend. And it's really critical to have peers and coaches to help you, and mentors to help navigate the waters.
And we definitely know firsthand how amazing iFund Women is. So many people on this panel and in the audience supported us when we were doing our crowdfunding campaign. So we are beyond grateful for that. So we know that each of your companies have this kind of specific angle towards women. Curious, and we kind of started to touch on this in the origin stories a little bit, but what flaws like existed in these markets? How were the products catering towards men or just not women specifically? And how have you and your companies kind of gone about that to create something that is more specifically for women? And in what ways do you feel like you've differentiated from that? And Sadie, why don't you start us off again?
Yeah, I think this is similar to what Jane said, similar to what I said earlier. Dance is a category like bras, like very hypersexualized. Fitness is very much about objectifying bodies. It's not really about what fitness, can be about, which is how you feel. So that was the basic premise. Was we are taught to work out for like one reason, which is to look hot for other people, so that they want to marry us and never want to leave us, and that just doesn't really resonate with our generation.
Amen. Awesome. Kate?
Yeah, I think that we knew that that fundraising brought all sorts of scary emotions for women, and we wanted to make the first round into fundraising feel a little bit easier and a little bit more manageable, and give people the confidence to prove that they're able to do something, but also give them the guidance to say, like, you might want 100,000, but that's going to be beyond what you need at this moment in time, and help them level set and feel like the voice is like one that's there to cheer you on, but to provide like firm encouragement versus like somebody that maybe has a scary or acrimonious relationship with. And I think that's sometimes how people feel with investors.
And I can also say, having done an iFund Women crowdfunding campaign myself and talking to people who've done crowdfunding campaigns on other platforms, the support that you all provide as far as the playbook and the Slack community has just like went above and beyond in helping us, I think, be successful. So big differentiator there. Stephanie, curious how you think Her Campus kind of compares to other media publications that aren't so, feminine.
Yeah. So for us, I think part of it was about kind of serving women. And then part of it was really about kind of feeling like, okay, maybe women are being served by the category, but this age group of women is being overlooked. And we felt like there was all this great kind of like teen media. And then once you get past the teen magazines, it skipped straight to the women's magazines, like a Glamour or a Cosmo or a Self, where your average reader is actually 33, 34, 35 years old at those publications. And we felt like we were college women at the time, were at this really unique time in their lives with a unique set of needs that really just weren't being addressed anywhere. And advertisers and media companies were thinking of women in kind of these two groups of sort of like young women age 30, like getting married, thinking about a house, all that, or teen girls, and not hitting in between. And then the other piece of it from kind of the journalism or kind of student journalist perspective is that there were so many women who we knew dreamed of going to work for publications like the ones I just named, working at Hearst and Condé Nast and in New York City, but they didn't have kind of a place to get their feet wet and kind of get their foot in the door working on a women's media brand. Internships in New York City were few and far between. They're incredibly expensive, incredibly exclusive. And on campus, they had the school newspaper, which wasn't really kind of giving them the experience, the clips, the skill building that they need to be set up for success to get the jobs and internships they wanted. So we wanted to create a women's media outlet that would exist for them on their campus, right where they were.
Amazing. And Jane, obviously, bras are kind of, a gendered product, at least, for most women in need of bras. But you touched on a little bit kind of the difference between what you're building versus Victoria's Secret. How do you think you've kind of been able to like flip the script around like that slightly more like intimate apparel?
Yeah, no, you would think that inherently a bra would be for women, but actually when you think about the bras that Victoria's Secret sells and the brand that they represent, it's actually for the male gaze, and it's primarily run by men, to the point where the other day we're talking about doing a maternity bra, and we're trying to understand why Victoria's Secret has never had one. Normally it's a pretty strong indication if the market leader, who's worth billions and billions of dollars, doesn't have one of the products. It's because Les Wexner thinks it's disgusting that women breastfeed. Like, that's so effed up. Like, it's just like right there is telling you it's a company from the top trickling all the way down that's not designed for women. And then when you actually look at the bras that they offer, and then you look at what you reach for, like 6 days out of 7 at 6 a.m., it is not normally, from our experience in talking to hundreds and hundreds of women, a bejazzled corset, strappy, lacy thing. You're reaching for that really soft, comfortable nude t-shirt bra that's not going to hurt you when it's been on for 12 hours, and that's not going to show through your shirt when you're in a board meeting. Like, so it is kind of wild that such a gendered product wasn't made for women, but everything from the assortment, the product details itself, the size range, the nudes that are offered. If you're a man, you don't understand how it shows through on your shirt, depending on like your skin tone. It's a pretty obvious thing. Like, we have our straps adjust from the front, not the back. And if you've ever had to like dislocate your shoulder to get back there, or ask a random person at the office to tighten it for you in the bathroom, like, you're not thinking of those things when you're making the bra. So that's been where we focus, and the brand is just like, then it's like even more so bringing that to life to again make it something that she's actually really proud to stand behind. And to Kate's point earlier, like, even when you think about when you're getting your first bra, like, think about that young teenager who steps into Victoria's Secret and she sees Giselle, and that's probably way earlier on all these magazines, seeing what good looks like, but then it being hammered in, and like the objectification there, it's just like from start to finish pretty focused on men somehow.
Wow, I wear a bra every day and I'm learning so much. So I guess in theory, we all start companies with some hypotheses. Hopefully they're based on things when we start them about, how our product will be received in the market. Curious kind of what like actual impact you've seen your companies have on your consumers. Any stories that, have of women who, really loved your product and the outcome that it's had. How are the companies that you're building like directly impacting your customers? And Stephanie, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, and so kind of our central mission at her campus is really about empowering this next generation of student journalists. And so now that we've been running for 11 plus years, one of the most amazing things has been tracking our alumni as they go through and seeing where they go on and the jobs they go on to get, and as they work their way up in the industry. And so what we have a Her Campus Hall of Fame that we induct some of our alums into. And so I think that's been one of the most gratifying and fulfilling things for us, has been to see that, a girl that was a Her Campus alum was the journalist that broke the Matt Lauer, Me Too story. And that was a Her Campus alum. A woman who is now writing her 4th book that have all been incredibly successful as a Her Campus alum. And just seeing the really cool things that these women go on to do, and then seeing them kind of paying it forward to the younger Her Campus girls as they're graduating, has been amazing. And so we've created this situation now where it's this real kind of community and network and sisterhood of kind of Her Campus girls, Her Campus alums, sort of out there in the wild, supporting each other, helping each other get jobs, noticing it on someone's resume. And that was our goal when we started, but obviously took a number of years for us to be able to kind of have people graduate, go through, get jobs, work their way up. And so that's been something that's been really neat to see as we've gotten a little bit further out.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible and so exciting. Sadie?
Yeah, Stephanie, that's amazing what you're saying. You must be so proud. For 305, I think the things that make me proudest are probably people saying that 305 helped them express themselves or assert themselves more. I think about people who have told me that it's helped with them sort of go through and figure out their gender transition, or coming out to their parents, or realizing they wanted a different name just because. Like 305 really has this feel yourself quality to it, where you get to spend all this time in your skin, looking at yourself in the mirror, trying on these different alter egos. And I think that that's really enabling for people's self expression. But I think the impact that I really do feel deeply and the most are our instructors, because many of them are Black and brown. Many of them come from the LGBTQ community. Many of them really grew up, like, especially as dancers, just being treated like trash and being told, like, you don't, because you're a dancer, sometimes there's this association that you can't use your voice, that you're not really a leader, you're like in the backup. And so for them to have an outlet where they can be a leader, but it isn't necessarily in this like way that we know leaders like boardroom, button up, presentation, and 305 creates a space where they can be a leader non-verbally, expressively, emotionally, confidently. So I think that those are probably the relationships and stories I feel so proud of, are probably like that, those 1,000 instructors that I would say who've like truly their lives have been changed from this product.
That's absolutely incredible. And I can say, as someone who grew up basically hating exercise, you can go read a slightly sappy Instagram post that I made March 5th, 305 day, last year, about my transition into enjoying sweating again. So you can go check that out. Jane?
Yeah, I mean, those are both amazing. It's incredible to just see how much of an impact you can have with your product itself, and then beyond that. And I think that's like the two parts of it that we see too. It's like there's the product itself, and when you come to your site, that you see someone like you for one of the first times, maybe you see a bra color that matches your skin tone or a size, and hearing from those people, it's so cool to understand that, or that they have had a horrible in-store purchasing experience where they felt like, the store associate was really condescending because their boobs were weird. Like, it's amazing how many women think their boobs are different and weird and everyone else has normal boobs. And it's just statistically impossible based on how many people we've heard say that. It's like, just, everyone has different body types. And having people write in and say, I've had this horrible relationship with bra shopping in the past, and this was one of the first times I was able to actually speak to someone or have an experience on the site that allowed me to experience it better. But Stephanie and Sadie, similarly, I think the bigger fulfillment is something a lot bigger than that. We have a social mission part of the business that gives back to girls' education. So in line with our other boob and bra puns, our tagline is lift up the ladies to lift up your ladies and the future generation of leading ladies. And that was something that came, Jen and I, we don't come from retail. We didn't come from a bra selling place. So when we were over in Sri Lanka for our first factory visit, we were like, if we're going to peddle bras for a living, like, what is this really about? And when it gets tough, what's going to matter to us at the end of the day is like, okay, this is much bigger than about getting you all bras so that you're not, it's not falling, your strap isn't falling down in a meeting. Or one of my best friends is a surgeon and they were falling down while she was doing surgery. It's crazy, to help empower you. But also, how can we think bigger than that? And we realized, we are here today because we have had this incredible opportunity and access to education that a lot of girls around the world don't have access to, more so than boys. So how can we think about empowering not just this generation with new bras, but the next generation? We give back to girls' education. And that's when we really stand for our values. That'll manifest in a lot of different ways, but like more recently, we've done these capsule collections where there's a quote on the bra. Like the first one was an RBG quote of when there are 9, and we gave back to a portion of the proceeds went to She Should Run to help get women into office. We did one with the anti-abortion movements that said "fuck your laws" on it, which was edgy even for us. And the amount of people who responded to someone who was like, "Oh, this company is pro-abortion would be like, because of your ignorant comment, I'm buying 10 more from this. We didn't even have to defend ourselves. And we've had women write in it's almost like the modern day lace. You're wearing it for yourself to feel good about yourself. Like women have written in and said, I was so nervous for a meeting, and then I saw that fuck your laws bra sitting in my drawer, and I reached for it, and I just felt so powerful and like I could conquer anything. So it's those are the ones where it's like, okay, it's like one thing to get you a bra and get your boobs supported and you to feel comfortable finding that and having that great experience. It's another to think about, like, how do we change the way society looks at women and how we support them for the next generation to really succeed.
I'm gonna cry. This is amazing. Kate, let's just go on to you before
Yeah, I'll say, I mean, what we've done at iFund Women is try to build a community of women, and make sure that they feel like their business is important. One of the things we've really started at from an early stage with so many entrepreneurs is we help women hone their pitch, because if you can't speak confidently about your business, you're going to just miss out on opportunities. And we know that women are building really incredible, awesome businesses, but they need to feel that confidence in themselves. And I kind of hate using that word of like confidence that women don't, people say that women don't have it. I don't think that's true. I think we just haven't been socialized. Same way, like, you know, to use Victoria's Secret as an example, or Stephanie, what you were saying, and say like about what the magazine industry is talking about, or what the fitness industry is showing us. Like, we haven't, as women, been socialized to talk about money and to talk about our business and ourselves. And so I think as a result of that, if we start businesses, it's like there are other things that we're quick to talk about instead of that. And I think it's really important to share those joys and excitement and lift people up. And that's what we've really worked hard to do at iFund Women, to provide opportunities for entrepreneurs. 8 different entrepreneurs from iFund Women have landed on Inc. magazine's top 100 female founders. And those feel like great success metrics. I will be excited to see if in 5 years from now, when we're like, you know, 11 years into iFund Women, like where Stephanie is we say, like, look at what these women are building. Like, they're building really huge companies. And I was there for like I hope this is the case for Holdette. Like, I was there for like a microcosm of it. And like one day I can look and there'll be a lot of people that I'll say like, oh, I like knew her at one point. Like, she started at iFund Women. That will make me feel so proud, and so proud of all of the different businesses we're really helping to grow.
All of these stories are absolutely incredible. The people in the chat are so inspired and sharing that. That's absolutely amazing. Curious, and Jane specifically, you started touching on this, but curious how you think being women and building products for a female consumer kind of enabled you to do that in a unique way. I mean, Jane, have talked about Victoria's Secret being built by men, right? So there's things that they're not going to understand that we as women might want. Have you seen that in any other ways? And curious what other people have thought for their own businesses. But Jane, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tangible moments, right? Like, we just got some samples in and I could try them on. And I knew right away it was rubbing in a weird place underneath my arm, you know, and like, we can turn things around much more quickly. Or, you know, when we think about what's the biggest pain point that she's feeling in trying to find her bra, we know a lot of it is around fit, and no one knows how the hell bra sizing works. It's so unnecessarily complicated. And, you know, all these sites and companies have, you know, measure yourself like this. And we know rarely does a woman have a measuring tape laying around, or, you know, so I mean, it's kind of obvious stuff. I think, but it's just like, you know, it's crazy when you go through it day to day. My co-founder focuses on the marketing and branding side, and it's everything from how can we talk about her in this email, in this ad that's going to appeal to her most, all the way to my side on more the supply chain side. How can we create a product? And when we're thinking about new products, we know that there actually is quite a huge difference in, you know, just a slightly lower neckline of a bralette and a slightly thinner strap. Like, we've all been there when it's like the tank top that's a little too thin for the, you know, so like, I don't know. I've never been a man, but like maybe, you would say, oh, those are really redundant products because they look so similar on paper, and even on body. But like we just know that actually serves quite a different purpose. But yeah, it's like all throughout the company. I think it's just we're just being the customer is it gives us a leg up for sure.
Absolutely. Stephanie?
Yeah, I think what Jane just said resonates with me a lot as well, because especially when we were starting it, we kind of were our own customer in that we were college women trying to serve college women. And so that just gave us, as Jane mentioned, kind of this really intuitive understanding of this audience that we were serving and their wants and their needs. And we didn't have to kind of like take those extra steps to understand what matters to them, because it was inherent to us. It was us at the time. And so one thing that's been really important to us as we've obviously gotten older and aged out of being in that demo ourselves, obviously, like we're now moms, as I mentioned at the beginning, has been to make sure that the way that her campus is powered is really that still kind of ground up, bottom up, powered by these college women all across the country. And so we have these campus chapters at over 400 different colleges with an average of 30 or so women per campus. And everything that we're doing is responsive to their needs. It's coming from them. They're pitching article ideas. We're hearing from them all the time because, in the beginning, we had the luxury of being the customer ourselves. We're not that anymore, but we knew that was what was really special about what we were doing, is that we were kind of just like spot on the pulse in the way that other media brands weren't. And so it was important to us to really kind of like bake that into the DNA of how it's powered, even as we've gotten older ourselves.
Awesome. Kate?
I'm sorry, there were kids yelling upstairs, so I feel like I got distracted by the question. I was trying to like keep a straight face. Will you ask the question again, Sarah?
Absolutely. I think it's good to, be authentic and transparent. So I appreciate that. The question was just about how you think being a woman and having your female co-founders has kind of given you this special advantage or insight for building a product specifically for women.
Totally. I think that we knew what our customers wanted because like everybody else, like we were our own customers. We were trying to raise money. We wanted to feel like we could connect with other people. We felt like the entrepreneurial space for women, there's so many women starting businesses, but they were so disjointed. We wanted to connect and bring them together in different demographics. And we wanted an experience that felt like something that worked for us. We wanted something where you could reach out to someone if you had questions. That didn't really exist on other crowdfunding platforms. And we're still our own customer. And I think that on an aside, separate from building the product, it is really nice to start a company with other women. It feels very different. Like it feels nice to feel like you can also talk about the things of being woman that are like, in many ways have been so otherized in the workplace, right? Like not in your personal relationships, but I think in the workplace, like being a woman is like a nuisance and an inconvenience, and having to blow dry your hair and pick an outfit are like soft things that are just annoying. And it's actually, I think, has been so refreshing to be at a workplace where like you have to do a pitch and like we're getting our hair and makeup done, and that's a fun thing. And it's not like an unnecessary thing. It's something like that we all like and feels good. And it's nice to have a shift from that, because I think so often that has felt like it has been drilled into women that those are like superfluous. And, if they're things that you enjoy doing, they're not superfluous. They're like enjoyable.
Awesome. And Sadie?
Yeah, love what everyone said. I totally agree. I think so much of this conversation has been centered around creating a successful business, just really looking for a niche in the market that doesn't serve women. It's not really a niche, I guess. It's just like the part that doesn't serve women. Totally agree. Don't have much to add. But I will say that now, 12 years in and a little bit further along than I was a couple of years ago, the gut that got me really far is not serving me as well in this phase, where actually being much more inclusive of other people's perspectives and slowing down to hear all of it is way more the need at this point than early stage. I was just like, I'm building something for me. Like, I know there's enough crazy people like me out there that are going to love this. And now I'm learning that way of thinking got me to a point, but I don't have an example of this would be I created a dance workout that was like for young women to just express themselves. And one of the things I left out was like people of all physical abilities. So that is like an example of now we're in this different evolution where it's not just about serving me or people like me. It's about serving, as broad of an audience as I can.
I totally appreciate you bringing up that point, and what a joy to be able to start something and then see where it goes and grow and expand to include as many people as possible. So the next question is whether anyone has had a difficult time convincing anyone of the need for your product or company in the market. I can say, starting a suit line specifically focusing on the issue of pockets, I can't tell you how many men are like, that is a completely useless product, and pockets are not important, as they say, as they put their phone into their pocket. So curious if you all have experienced that. Sadie, we're already getting a head shake. I'm gonna hand it over to you.
I just get so mad at this one because, fine, you can be like an entitled Wharton grad who worked in investment banking and like have your privileged view, but then to literally not even look at numbers and just go off of your gut, that really pisses me off. Like, be one or the other, say that you're like just doing it based off the numbers, or say that you're just doing it based off the gut, but don't talk out of two sides of your mouth. So that is what really pisses me off in the investing world. I have like an unapologetically loud, fun dance cardio product. It's the kind of thing that men, literally, I'll talk to an investor and be like, you should come, you should try the class, you should do a YouTube workout, see if, and they're like, oh, I could never. Like, it's the worst thing they might do is like have a little fun for 5 minutes. So I get pissed off with that. I get really pissed off that I feel I spend so much time just convincing them that dance is a category. It's like the most primal art form of all time. Like, think about 7 billion people, 8 billion. Like, how many of those people dance culturally? Like, this is not a niche category. They somehow think that like $2,000 cycling, like that's a 6 billion. Like, I don't even understand. So it comes from just like such personal bias from a person who's male, time poor, extremely affluent, like certain activities, and in the fitness space is like like what they think is cool and mainstream. They're like, paleo, coffee, and then they talk, they get shots from their trainer and then they like fly on their jet. I'm like, you realize that's like not fun for most people, like to compete on a leaderboard, but this is the world we live in. So yeah, it really makes me mad because it's just so personally, like, at least look at the numbers. Like, anyway, okay, I'm done.
Well, the world we live in today, hopefully not tomorrow. Stephanie?
Yeah, so for us, we've never raised money. We've actually bootstrapped the company the whole way through. We've been profitable ever since we launched, and that's been a way that we've chosen to run the company that we've really liked. So because of that, we weren't quite at the mercy of male investors' opinions in the same way, and we weren't reliant on them. But I think we definitely in the early days when we were still students at Harvard, when we were in Harvard Business Plan competition, when we were in some other early business plan competitions, that a lot of people just looked at what we were doing and just thought it was like kind of fluffy. They saw that it was this kind of, by women, for women, about women's media. It wasn't always the most serious topics being covered in our content. And they just saw that and just kind of thought it was like fluffy and fun and a hobby, and kind of didn't doubt that people might like it or read it, but didn't think that it was going to be this like really big, successful revenue generating business. And so, luckily for us, we kind of mostly were in a world where the true people that we were depending on were people kind of in the women's media world and people who really got what we were doing, be it advertisers, other media brands and things like that. But I think in the kind of startup world that, again, we didn't need their money, so it was fine. We definitely had a lot of people that were just kind of like, this doesn't seem like a very serious thing. And we just kind of, proved them wrong, and they see where we're at now. But I know that, certainly Harvard classmates, may have thought that, and we definitely felt that in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Kate?
I think that we need to like move desperately away from the idea of like women being niche or other or cute. And I think that that's true of so many businesses. I admire Stephanie, you for not raising capital. I think that it is really hard to have to prove your business. I think it's hard for anybody across the board. But Sadie, I like what you had said is like, sometimes people are talking out of both sides of their mouth. Like it's, oh, I have a feel for this company that's going to be big, or is it data that's driving you to that decision? Like, which is it? And I think, unfortunately, like there's got to be a new model that exists that's not venture capital, because that's just not made for female entrepreneurs. even like a woman that I met up with at the Wing in Boston was telling me she was a VC, a partner at a VC firm. And she said, who am I as the one female partner? Am I going to bring a female like bra company forward or a period company forward? Like, they're not going to take me seriously. So while I think we maybe as like female founders think, oh, if we have this female partner, she's going to represent us well, but like her hands are tied behind her back too, because it's going to make her look bad to, like a paleo person who wants to be on Peloton all of the time, to say, oh, back this bra company or back this company for women. Like, it's just going to feel like, not serious. And I reject the idea that a company for women is not serious. I mean, I think it's important to note that what has it looked like in our country with men running the country? It doesn't really look like it's a place that a lot of us want to live. So I think it's time to have more leaders that look like half of the population of our country.
Mm. Absolutely. And Jane, I know you all have fundraised, so I'm sure you've had experiences with this before. Curious on your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I'll start with, we've had our fair share of pretty awful investor moments. As you can imagine, we're like not only a bra company, but we talk about boobs all the time. So there have been some real awkward moments in there and some pretty sexist ones. But to counter that, I kind of might share an unpopular opinion that I don't believe we should give up on women having success in venture capital. We're a venture-backed company. I would do anything in the world to have been able to bootstrap in the early days. I think there's a lot of decisions that go into how you finance the company. One of the biggest, which I would not change, is our vision for what we wanted to become. And we wanted to take over Victoria's Secret. We wanted to become the next household brand. We wanted to become the brand that women thought about when they thought about bras, and to change the way, to have such a huge voice in changing the way the country, the world looked at women. And it's rare that you're able to do that without significant financial backing. If you're able to, and you're Sarah Blakely, and like fantastic, but like for those of us who have sat in the reality, it can be really hard. And I'm Kate, like we have had that one woman in the room and we're like, she has boobs, she's gonna get this. And like the exact same thing happened.
She has 2 of them.
She has 2, in fact. And she's like, I like the last one, right, to believe in us in the room, because she doesn't want to have to bring the bra company, because like, who is she to? So like, I'm there. I don't know what the right solution is, but I believe like I'm still motivated to change how we look at that, and to not have to like, to have the option to go there, because I want us to be able to create these huge brands and go down that path if we're able to. But to the question on like, did people not believe in it? I think like you're always in this position, no matter who you are, where people are poking holes in it in the beginning, sometimes to protect you, sometimes to protect themselves. But if someone's done it before you, there's other people out there. How are you different than the competition? If no one's ever done it, why has no one ever done it? Like, must be a bad idea. Like, you're not going to win. And one moment that like I'll try to remind myself of all the time is we were in business school and we were like, okay, we're going to be the Warby Parker of bras, right? We're going to do free home try, and it's going to be easily accessible, price point and options and blah, blah. And we were like creating a really crappy pitch deck at the time. And I was in this entrepreneurial class where it was like you had to actually be working on a business. And Lively had just gotten written up that they were the Warby Parker bras, and they raised a ton of money. And we're like, okay, that's it. We're over. We're done. We're not doing this anymore. But cool. See ya. And I walked into class, and the professor could tell I was really dejected. And he was like, what happened? And I told him, and he was like, oh my God. And he's like, all right, guys, and pulls up the article on the big screen and is like, guys, everyone, the most amazing thing happened to Jane today. And I'm like mortified. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going to out me in front of everybody. And he's like, this is the most incredible thing that could have happened to you. This just showed that real money was put behind a decision that's similar to yours. It's all about execution. You're going to build a different brand. You're going to build a different product. You're going to do it way better than them. But this just proved your point. And that was like, it was a total reframing of the way in which I was feeling. Like, someone could have easily and did try to poke holes for that reason, other companies were there and were getting funded, so this must be a bad idea. So I think there's an element of, how we look at the way people don't believe in us and why, and there's a part of it that's learning from what they're saying, and there's a part of it that's recognizing that because there are so many people that don't believe in it, there were so many people who didn't try, and thereby there's so much more of an opportunity for us to create a solution here. And it's just about that reframing sometimes.
That's an absolutely incredible perspective shift that I feel like is applicable to so much beyond even just running a startup. So would love to talk about the role that mentorship has played in all of your careers and your successes thus far. I'm lucky to be able to have gotten to know all of you a little bit and use you for advice and guidance, which is all amazing. And curious kind of who invested in you that got you to the point that you're at now. And Stephanie, why don't you start us off?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we were in college when we started it. We knew very little. We knew our audience really well, and we were really in touch with that. But we knew that there were just like huge gaps in our knowledge, having gone to liberal arts undergrad, having never worked in the real world. And so we were really intentional about, setting out to just do a ton of networking and find a ton of different kind of mentors, so to speak. And so whether it was through speakers coming to Harvard, whether it was through our internships over the summer, other different networking events, things in the startup world we could go to, we really intentionally went and talked to everyone, told everyone what we were up to, what we were doing, what we were planning on launching. And then what we were really good about doing that helped a lot is that we were really good about keeping in touch with all those people by doing something that we called our supporters listserv. So we created a listserv for all of these kind of different connections, industry contacts, networks that we met up with. And we would say, oh, it was so great meeting you at this event. We'd love to add you to our monthly supporters listserv. And we sent out a monthly update email over that supporters listserv for the first 8 years of our company. And what that enabled us to do was keep in touch with a really broad group of contacts in all different areas. And so we were able to kind of keep everyone sort of in the loop and up to speed, so that when we needed one person in particular's extra guidance or feedback on something, they kind of remembered who we were, what we were up to, and we could reach out to them to say like, hey, can I actually set up a call with you to pick your brain on XYZ? So we definitely had some people and some advisors who over time became kind of, our true mentors and our true advisors. And those people were wonderful, but we also found so much value in having this broad network that we did actually keep in touch with, and I think did a good job of keeping informed.
Awesome. And I'm not sure if you or anyone else on this panel knows this, but I heard you give that advice last February, which is why I started my mentor update email list, which you all are on now. So that is very much thanks to Stephanie.
Oh, I love that. And I remember talking to you at that conference. Exactly. So I love that. And I love receiving your monthly emails.
Amazing. Sadie?
I think that it is a very smart approach, and anyone starting a business should definitely listen to Stephanie and do that. If I could go back in time, I would. What I've started to do in the last few years, because I've realized that you just don't remember stuff after a while is the thing, guys, when you have a lot of stress. So I just don't remember anyone's name or anything that I do anymore. So now I just started making a spreadsheet, and it's kind of like a Rolodex. And when I need something, I look at the spreadsheet. I'm like, can anyone here help me? So even if I'm not giving people frequent updates, just write it down, email and 2 things on what they do. So you can also do a quick control F if you need whatever. You can do little tags for yourself. But yeah, a virtual Rolodex, smart thing to do.
I love all of these practical tips that we're giving out. Jane?
I'm going to really let you down now. I don't know that I have one. We did that supporter list too, which I think is great. And we have a similar kind of, we know certain people within our network to go to for certain questions. And I think it's also there's an element, that's probably just a lesson in networking, of keeping in touch with the people when you don't need them. That's I think a really big piece, building those relationships so that when there is and just I don't know, I'm a really social person, but more when it's my friends and all the dinners with complete strangers, which is a big thing in LA, networking dinners is a big thing all the time. And it's exhausting to go to, but I would just force myself to go there. And, really desperate times would really force me to get out there and talk to, and those have led to some of the most significant people in our network who literally changed the course of being able to fundraise or not, was shamelessly going and talking to someone at those. So I think that's the piece of it. And then, yeah, like, I think it like really like building the relationships in a way where they're truly a part of your life, your journey, so that they feel bought in, and maybe literally you do buy them in with some equity when it feels right, so that you are able to call on them when you do need them.
That's awesome. I will +1 to the shameless thing. Sadie and I had a call last January, and then she came to Boston to give a talk, and I somehow maneuvered my way into getting to ride in Sadie's Uber on her way to her talk. That will be, that's like a forever memory for me. Absolutely incredible. Kate, can you tell us about mentorship?
Yes, Sarah, I feel like you're quite adept at this. Like, I think you make a good impression on people right off the bat. But I think echoing kind of a lot of the things that everybody else said, I think that I think sometimes mentorship is perhaps the wrong word. Same with networking. I think that when you go into a relationship looking for a mentor or network or to network, it's very like one-sided. I want something from you. And I think kind of like what Jane, you were saying, is creating relationships with people that are like lasting relationships where you can lean on them and try not to make it one-sided. Like, I think that a lot of times you might feel, well, I'm so JV here, how can I help someone else out? But you can, like, they have a LinkedIn post, like, comment on it and share it. Like, they're looking to hire people, say like, oh, this person would be a great person to work for. Continue to maintain those relationships. And sometimes it's beneficial to just have fewer rather than more. I find that like in my own personal relationships, like fewer close relationships where you're keeping in touch with people is better than lots of superficial ones. So I think that know early on in your career that like every relationship will be important, and maintain the ones that are worth maintaining, because they can amount to something. They might not amount to something. It just might be a lifelong friendship that you have with someone that you worked with once. And that's a really valuable thing. I have a guy I worked with my first job out of college. He's, I don't know, 20 or 30 years older than me. And he like, whenever I have like a problem in fixing something in my house, he's the first person I call, and I don't call him, I FaceTime him. And I hope that like he's in the middle of a meeting and he'll pick up. But it's like a lifelong friendship that we have of two people that, I'd be friends with him any time, but we wouldn't have met probably. But I think that those are like, it's important to have those relationships as well.
Awesome. I love that. As we approach 9, I'd love to do one more question. If you could go back and talk to yourself when you were just out of college, what advice would you give yourself? And Jane, can we start with you?
Gosh. I think that at the time I remember feeling a lot of pressure to make the right decision on like what was going to be the job that, of course, was going to be the path for the rest of my life. And I think just taking some pressure off of it. I mean, I couldn't have made a harder right turn to go sell bras, but there was a lot of what happened in those early days that gave me a lot of the foundation that I need to work off of today. Not that I have by any means all that I need to be doing what I'm doing. But I think like taking a little bit of pressure off that and just being able to like learn, and ideally learn some like foundational elements, it would have I think been really helpful. And I think I did do this, but like really be opportunistic. There were some choices I made that were purely because I rode in a car with someone who started talking about this book they had just read, and then talking about business school, and that ended up being about what my business school essay was about. And I ended up applying 2 weeks before the round 2 deadline because of this inspiring car ride. Like it was like just like kind of, and that's more my style too, is look at the opportunistic moments that present themselves there. But yeah, I think that would be it off the cuff.
Awesome. Kate?
I would say that everybody has to create their own path. I think that sometimes we have this path of I have to do this and then I have to do this. Like I always knew that I wanted to have kids. My husband and I met in college and got married like arguably young for people that are live on any coast, and had kids way younger than any of our friends. And I kind of like thought, there was like one option. It was either like you're working, then you're waiting to have kids, or you're having kids and then you would never have a career, and was like able to like eke out both, and started working more and more as like my second kid was older. And I think that it's like everybody has their own path and their own journey. And I think that, this is a good advice for everybody, but it's hard to practice. Like you can't compare yourself to anybody else's journey. Like you have to just be content with where you are and what you're achieving. And then to just like stay in good touch with your friends. I think that's good advice for everybody.
Awesome. I love that. Sadie?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was going through a lot of feelings when I was in college, for sure. I would have told myself two things. I would have told myself, one, just go for it. If you're thinking about starting a business, truthfully, I never looked back. And nothing, but you really won't when you're 25 or when you're 30 either, honestly. So you'll just like know new ways of doing. So you don't need any qualifications. You just need to trust yourself and be able to figure it out. You can totally do it. And actually now is a great time because the economy is shitty. You're probably going to have a job where people aren't going to be that cool to you because you'll be like a peon. And like, hey, if you can do it, do it. Like, it's awesome. It can be really fun. My second piece of advice is about relationships, because I feel like that was really on my mind when I was in college. Boys and such. And I just feel that women, I guess I'm speaking from my own experience in heterosexual relationships, I've taken on a lot of emotional labor in those relationships. I've taken on just like, there's always just feels like there's a little bit more expectation on my part. And any of the guys that I would have ended up with between any time and now, it would have ended up changing really like the path of my life and my career. And I have a husband who like worships the ground I walk on, cooks dinner, like just thinks that my loud, courageous, everything is like the coolest thing ever and makes my life better, not worse. So yeah, don't settle if that feels like it applies to you. It's just like, you're awesome and you'll find someone who really sees that. But women do have to put up with more, so don't settle for like just okay.
Never settle for okay. Stephanie, can you take us home?
Sure. I'll do two quick things. One that's more general, one that's more kind of like tactical. The more general one being that building a company is really a marathon, not a sprint. I think when you're right out of college, the way we were, it's so easy to think that like, oh, maybe this is something I'll do for a few years and then we'll get acquired. And you kind of see all of these other kind of startup stories and think that, there's going to be all these exciting things happening every day and just that things are going to kind of move really quickly because that's what it feels like. But in reality, it's kind of like a day after day grind. It's putting one foot in front of the other. And it really is this kind of a long-term journey. And I think for us too, we never set out specifically to sell the business. We have no plans to sell it now or anything. But the fact is, whether you want to sell it or keep running it yourself, the best thing to do is just stay focused on running your company, making it the best it can possibly be. That's going to put you in the best position to have kind of all doors open for you. And so that the control is really in your hands about what path you want to take, be it getting acquired, be it raising money, be it continuing to run it yourself all the way through. But I think in the beginning, it's easy to feel like things should move really, really fast and not realize what the day-to-day is going to be like. And then the last more specific one, which is one we got burned on, is to always have a contract and don't get excited about anything until a contract is signed. We learned those lessons the hard way in the beginning for sure. And now are, obsessive about it. Until something's signed, it doesn't matter how much of a done deal it seems like it is not real in our minds until it is, mutually executed and saved in Dropbox. So that was one that I wish we had not gotten burned on in the beginning, but it was okay because we learned from it.
There you go. Well, we hit on the professional, the personal, the tactical. This was an absolutely incredible hour. I feel like I learned so much. The chat was more active tonight than every other night. People are just like, yes, that was amazing. So I cannot thank the four of you enough for being here. It was an absolute joy to spend this time with you. And thank you so much to everyone who tuned in to this event. Thank you for celebrating our launch with us. Check our story tomorrow for some exciting updates and news. We are so excited to be on this journey with you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.